and just start presenting to you guys. I've got a bunch of new news, and then we have our online college research demo, which I'm very excited about because I do feel like online college research is a vital part of our practice, and it leads to great success. There's a real difference between the students who work with us in exploring schools, doing that deep research at the beginning of the college admissions process, and the students who come to us later in the process with a list of schools asking us to help them apply, which we do happily. But there's a real difference in the knowledge base with those students, and when it comes to answering certain questions, the questions what we call why questions, but not just why questions, really inserting your connectedness to the university in a variety of essays. The students who don't take the time out to do that research in the beginning of the process usually don't do as well, or they have to scramble to do that in like October if they're applying early, or November, December when they've got other things piled onto them. So I'm really happy to have this opportunity to share this process with you. So I'm going to share my screen. Session 3. This is me. I'm Dr. Amy Morgenstern, founder and CEO of Blue Stars Admissions Consulting. You can find us at bluestars.us. It's our 10th year anniversary, and I can't believe it, how the time has flown happily, and with some really great results. And just this year, we've had some wonderful results. And a lot of those results, as I say, it has to do with the preparation that students put into the process themselves. So hopefully, if you're on my mailing list, if you're not, feel free to email me and I will put you on the mailing list, and hopefully you've been introduced to the wonderful college counseling team. We're a very close-knit team. And of course, I do have to put in a plug for my free college planning workbook. It's a 40-page book, lots of activities. It's geared for younger students so that they can set those foundations. At Blue Stars, we're really all about process and system and foundations, step by step, as I talked about last week. So I wrote that college planning workbook myself. It's a real labor of love. It's out there for anyone to really get a sense of what admissions is really like. I had a question last week about paradigm shifts, which I hope to get back to in a few weeks. It's a very interesting question. I've thought more about that. But there has been a paradigm shift in admissions, and that happened right after, well, not right after, but a few years after the Great Recession. So in the 2010s, the admissions community started to really rethink the kind of messages it was giving to teens in terms of what it means to be a successful person. And so there are lots of paradigm shifts, and the college planning workbook, it's really great for parents to read too, because it will provide a framework that's probably quite different from the one you're used to. That's that. Here's our agenda. I've given myself a little bit more time today because we have this extra component, 25 minutes of informational presentation, maybe less, we'll see. I'll be here for the next 3 Saturdays at least, and maybe even more, maybe through the summer. Next Saturday, we've got college finance expert Sally Wu, and Sally has worked with some of our families, helping them plan their finances for college, and she's done wonderful work. So I'm very excited to have Sally join us next week. And then the week after that, we're going to do some pandemic summer ideas. What can you do if you're sheltering in place this summer? And I do want to sort of already just give you some thoughts about that. And with our students, we're really already just starting to do the plan B. So I very much encourage you, if you had plans you're still holding on to that really aren't going to work because they're in person, I would advise you to start shifting away from that right now. A lot of the work that we do with our students is to help them respond to the moment, because when it comes to this, you know, if you're looking at top 50 schools, These admissions readers are going to look at not just the external achievements of your children or of you, if you're a teen hanging out with me this morning, but they're going to look at how did you respond to the times? What did you do with what you were given? So in non-coronavirus times, you might be given different things and you're going to do different things. But in shelter in place, what we're dealing with, in the terms of Buddhism is different causes and conditions. And so the question is, how do you, if you're a teen, or how does your child respond to different causes and conditions? And that's going to be the real key to admissions, in addition to excelling academically, etc. So I really did want to start planting the idea that we should all be pivoting toward a pandemic summer, and admissions officers know that everyone's plans have been disrupted, and they're going to be excited to see the unique and heartfelt ways that students respond to new conditions. And so I plan to give you some guidance on that in 2 weeks. And the week after that, I'm not yet sure. I will let you know, but let's go forward together. I don't know if you realize this, but I actually changed the text to this slide. Up until this week, it's been, let's get through this together. I've changed my tune. I've changed my attitude. Let's just go forward. One of my favorite indie rock bands, Sleater Kinney, one of my favorite quotes from them is, "The future is here and we can't go back. We can't go back. Let's go forward. Let's figure out all the ways in which we can help our teens find great opportunities and discover themselves, discover new things they might not have in this new situation." Topics for today, I'll be going over impact on current seniors, impact on current juniors, impact on summer planning, with more on that in 2 weeks, and then our online college research demo for a student who's interested in bio, business, and hip hop dancing. And we're going to go over Stanford University. And I thought I'd just take a quick moment to just share a story from, this was over a decade ago. I was working with a student before I started Blue Stars. And he was interested in business. I don't think he was interested in business, not bio, but he was a break dancer. And this was during the times when we would meet in the office together. And he wanted to write his common application essay on break dancing. And I thought that was a great idea. This student was a Chinese American student. There were conflicts with his parents over his break dancing. There were really lovely, wonderful stories about the cultural explorations the family went through together in sort of following his hobby. And so I had him, he actually also would demo some of the poses and stuff so I could help him describe his dancing. And I was working for a company at the time, and they took a look at the essay and they were really upset with me. They thought that this was a very risky thing to do, was have the student write about breakdancing in his main essay. And being me, I persisted and explained to them why I thought this would be so unique. And this student got into Stanford EA. Now this was 2008, so quite some time ago. But I think this is a really good illustration of how you really can be yourself. You don't have to just focus on your academic qualifications. Of course, they're extremely important, but when it comes time to things like essays, you can take risks. Years later, about 6 years later, I worked with a student who was a devout feminist, and way before Donald Trump was running for president, and it wasn't quite, as accepted at the time, but she really wanted to write about feminism. She applied to Stanford. She wrote a very, very strong feminist essay for one of her supplemental essays, and she was accepted to Stanford. So anyway, I just wanted to take this as just a teeny tiny interlude to, if you're a teen listening today, to let you know you really can be yourself. And if you're a parent, you can let your teen be him or herself in essays. There's lots of different ways to do it, but I just, admissions is also very creative. And admissions readers really do want to know who an applicant is. They don't really want to see an applicant trying to please them. So, all right, let's get started. Here we go. There is sort of new news on whether campuses will return to normal in the fall. Here we have a quote from University of Massachusetts President Martin Meehan. We've got to be prepared for 100% online and virtual and 100% on campus and everything in between. So that's pretty much what university administrators are doing right now in terms of the fall. They're waiting and seeing, okay? They really don't know how to make these long-term decisions, but we also do know that BU, Boston University, plans to have word out before July 1st so that families can plan. And what they're doing is they're developing all sorts of scenarios and budgets for a range of options. And they might delay the opening until January. They might open it up in August. Again, such a dynamic situation. So there's nothing definite yet, but as I said last week, I just want to let you know that discussions are underway. They are happening. There's all sorts of plan A, B, C, and D, and E going on. So I don't want you to think that there's like a black hole going of activity here. BU is saying that probably the research and labs will open up first because they involve the smallest amount of people. Harvard is considering lots of different scenarios in the fall. University of Arizona remains hopeful. So that's where we are right now. That's as definite as I can get you to at this moment, and more to come as things unfold. That's what I have for seniors. For juniors, we know we've got those AP exams, and I talked about the measures being taken, the process for taking those exams to ward off cheating. We have more news from the the SAT, excuse me. The June SAT has indeed been canceled. And beginning in August, they plan to provide exams once a month till the end of the year. Both the SAT and ACT are planning at-home testing much more quickly than they had expected. The College Board just announced this on Wednesday. They're devising an at-home test. And the online SAT is slated to launch in late fall or early winter. I do just want to note that all of this is not without controversy. So there are lots of people who are concerned that they're rolling this out too fast, that there are going to be a lot of glitches. There's also lots of concern about inequity, accessibility. Will this harm under-resourced students who don't have the capacity to take these tests online? So on the one hand, they're trying to solve problems. On the one hand, there's going to be all sorts of new problems, and this is just, the drama of standardized testing in our stratified society. That's just where we are in our culture. And to make things more, I guess, complicated or exciting or open-ended, we have more schools who have joined the list of test optional schools, at least for this year. So Swarthmore, very, very competitive private school, liberal arts school near Philadelphia, very strong in STEM. If you're not already familiar with that school. CSU, so the California state system, is also not requiring SATs or ACTs starting this year. I did want to call attention to Swarthmore in particular here. Because what they're doing is they are also accepting PSAT scores and pre-SAT scores. So here you see from their new policy statement, while we will accept and review examination results if submitted to us, it is no longer a requirement for the next 2 years. We will reevaluate this policy for fall 2023 first-year applicants. So you might be wondering, what are the messages here? This seems like a mess. This seems like no answer. And I just want to sort of pause here for a moment and let you know that this is a weird, tricky spot. And so the question always is, should my child take the SAT or not? Should my child send SAT scores when you're getting, this is mixed messages from Swarthmore. That's what's happening here. And it's because they don't know how to proceed yet. Okay. So it's really, what we do with our clients is help them navigate these waters. And for each student, it really is going to be a unique and personal and individual decision as to whether you should take the exam and then whether you should send your scores. And right here on the bottom part of the slide, I did want to remind you what our policy is, what we think will help students the most, which is see where you are anyway. See where you are with standardized tests, okay? Because number one, that's going to allow you to create an accurate school list. It's not going to be a total free-for-all just because more schools are test optional. It's going to be more flexible and more unpredictable. Okay, so you still need to sort of be able to show that you're operating at a certain level of academic rigor. If you score well and you're aiming for a top 30 school, then we do recommend that you take it in the fall. My guess is when it comes to a place like Swarthmore, they're going to look at the exams. Unless they come out with an unequivocal statement that says, we will not look at them, we wipe them out when they show up on our screen, they're going to look at it. And I believe I mentioned maybe last week or the week before, I had this issue with Pomona because Pomona has a policy of making SAT 2 exams optional. And of course, well, what does optional mean? Does optional mean that when you look at it, when you look at the 750 or the 800, that student will rank higher than a student who didn't take, an SAT 2? And they've never given me a straight answer. So it's really all about individual strategy. And you ask me questions, and I expect questions in chat about this. So we can return to this. Let's do that. Okay, so as I've said to you, I think the current college planning priorities for juniors should be planning that pandemic summer, coming up with fresh new ideas that respond to where we are. There's so many different things that students can be doing. So we'll get back to that. Students really also need to be exploring colleges and creating that best fit school list. And we like to say by July at the latest, because then you're writing your essays. Here are some helpful websites for virtual online searches. And I've put these in your resource list for next week as well. So I will email those to you so you can check those out. Campus Reel is like homemade videos by students who talk about the school. And then the second two are more like sort of videos of the school. The second piece here, virtual visits, these are real-time online college fairs that you can attend. And I've put the links to these as well in your resource list. So you can check those out. So I strongly encourage you to check those out. Okay, we have more summer programs that have moved online. Harvard, the Yale Young Global Scholars, all online at this point. Georgetown, Columbia. Cosmos, unfortunately, is canceled this year. Summer at Brown Residential is canceled through July. Summer at Brown does have some online classes, so if you or your teen applied to Summer at Brown, you might want to check some of those out and see if those are available. And once again, here's our official Blue Stars recommendation for attending summer programs that have gone online. If nothing else is organized, do it. You want to be filling your time with stuff you're learning, interacting, and my guess is students will want to meet new people by the time summer comes around, and parents will want their teens to have something organized to do. So it's not ideal, but as I said before, it's We can't waste time clinging to old ideas. We can't do that. That's not helpful. And colleges will not want to see that in applicants. That's not going to help. And I know that we're talking with our teens now, and some of them are wondering, why am I doing all of this? Their routines are being disrupted, and they're, moving into a sense of some real questioning, which can be very valuable. And the team and I have been talking about that, and we hope to get you some resources along those lines. I'll tap into my my philosophical treasure trove for that when I can pick my head up from the nuts and bolts. So let's get started with today's feature, online school research. And what I want to say is, first of all, this is what we all have to do right now. But Blue Stars, we've been doing this for 10 years now. It's a vital part of our service. So when you sign up with us for full service admissions consulting, what we do is we create an initial 20 school list for you based on our conversations, based on a few questionnaires. And then we work with students to really drill down into the schools so they really get a feel for, what kinds of programs are available to me? How would these programs play out over 4 years? What kinds of clubs are there? What kinds of service opportunities are? What kinds of internships, study abroad? So what we try to do is, give students sort of like, a best guess of the schools we think that they would like. We generally go for a variety so that they can see the different kinds of offerings that they are and sort of wrestle with them. And once they've gotten more of these details, they can really make informed decisions about which schools to put on their list. And then once they get their list of acceptances, they have a much better understanding about how to choose those schools once they've been accepted. But the other piece about this process is that it really helps with essay writing too. Because essay writing is not just about talking about yourself and your own journey. It's also about making the case for your fit with that school. So all the essay writing that you're going to be doing is going to be angled at, making your best case for each particular school, and every school is different. This is such an underrated part of the process. I do want to say that we work with students who do this process with us, and then we work with students who come to us like later in the season, like August and September, just with their school list and ask us to help them to work on their applications, which we do. But the students who do this research beforehand, they have a much easier time answering what are called these why essays, which I'll show you at the end. They have a much easier time in interviews, and they're much more authentic in interviews. So for example, a typical interview question is, why do you want to go to Harvard and not the other schools? Why Columbia? Why MIT? Students often think that if they talk about why MIT is so much better than their high school, that's a good approach. And it's not, because MIT is better than every high school. I mean, it's college, right? So what you want to do if you're an applicant is you want to be able to talk about why MIT. You're not going to trash the other schools, but you want to talk about why MIT and not the other colleges you've applied to is really your first choice. To be able to do that, you need your deep research. Okay, so let's get started. We have our student. He's majoring in biology. He also has additional interests in business and entrepreneurship because his dream is to launch his own biotech startup one day. He also loves hip hop dancing. So this is sort of a montage of students we work with. Okay. So basically when we start working with students, they've picked some schools they know. And that's all they know, or I know some students who have gone to this school, or my parents like this school. But when it comes to applying for those schools, those reasons are not going to help you get into the school, okay? So it's this deep research. So what do we do is we first take students just to the homepage. And basically, there are variations of this at every college homepage. You're going to have academics, you're going to have a research page, and you're going to have a student or campus life page. So these are the three, in the nav bar, these are the three pieces that we're focusing our students' attention. And here we are at beautiful Stanford, the Stanford homepage, and here you see academics, research, and you have your campus life. Okay. Notice too, up here you have students. We can check that out later. So what we do is we start with academics. So we know students want to look, what are the dorms like, and what is the social life like, and those are things that we have students look at too. But again, that's not going to be the most important piece for your admissions strategy. And right now we're just working on admissions strategy. So the academic piece, because students are going to learn something, this is the first place where we go. This student is interested in bio. So you see we've gone to the academics page, and then right here we go to explore majors. Here's explore majors, here's the page you get to. And then here we have biology right there. Note too that there are a number of majors, departments connected to biology. So if you're a 9th grader or a 10th grader and you like bio, but you're not really sure, maybe you want to combine it, with computation. Maybe you want to combine it with engineering. So if you are a parent of a younger student, starting to just look through, just like window shopping, just, casually checking things out, just to get a sense of where your child is interested, what your child is interested in, or what the gravitation is, can be really helpful. Okay, so if you click on biology, you can see the different options, and this will take you to the major. Okay. And here we are at the department website. What we have our students do, it might seem really boring, but we have them just read this opening introduction, because each department at each school is going to have a different way of highlighting, of showcasing their department. And there might be keywords or buzzwords that might be important for a student when he or she is thinking about how to present herself to the school. So you just want to get an overview of the major. Okay, so you just go click on it, see what kinds of courses are involved. Okay, you can check out here the foundations. And then notice here too, if you would scroll down, you would see this piece right here, okay? There's a general biology major, but then there are all these tracks here. So when we're working, we generally don't do this with 9th graders. We start working with 10th graders, getting them into this because they say, oh, I want to be a bio major. Oh, well, you know what? There are so many different ways to do that. So when it comes time in 12th grade to apply to Stanford or Columbia or Wesleyan or name your school for bio, just being general, talking generally about bio won't help you as much as having a more definite angle. So biochem and biophysics, computational biology, ecology and evolution, marine biology, microbes and immunity, molecular cell and developmental biology, neurobiology. So when it comes to top 50 schools, you want to start getting specific. And so again, if you're in 10th grade, for example, you might want to do a summer program, or for a pandemic summer, an online summer course in marine biology, or something involving computation to start preparing for this more specific way of understanding your possible future major. So look for specialized tracks. Every school, not every school, but most schools will have them, and they might be called different things. They might be called something like a concentration. And then if you scroll down even more, you can click, obviously these are screenshots, so you can click into these and find out more about them. Then if you go back to the top of the page, you can find a link to the courses offered. And that is such an exciting place for us. And we love showing students course lists and curricula. So for example, here in biology, views of a changing sea, literature and science, human origins, introduction to human physiology. And it's super fun to us. We just have to scroll down, like, check this out, look at this, you know. Of course, being teachers, we're always excited about classes. So, and, you know, I feel like that, you know, that enthusiasm can also be infectious. So if you're a parent and your teen is open to it, just check things out and be curious, be enthusiastic with your child. And it's really just planting a picture. Once teens have a picture, they will start to gain momentum. This is what we find often with students we work with. Okay, so we've looked at the major, we've looked a little bit at the structure of the major, we've looked to see what the concentrations or the subspecialties might be in the major. We're looking at courses. That's a really important place to be looking. And then there are the faculty and teachers. So if you check out the people tab, you know, once you get to the website and you check out the people tab, you can look for faculty. One thing that our high school students don't generally know, this emeriti here, that these are retired faculty. So you don't need to, I mean, if you're curious as to, you know, who has retired from Stanford recently, you can check that out. But you want to be looking at the faculty, okay? Faculty themselves are also divided up. So there's assistant faculty. Those are the youngest, the newest faculty members. There's associate faculty. Those are more established faculty members. They've gone through what's called tenure. And then there's full professor. Those are the usually very, very established, most senior people in the department, famous people in the department as well. And if you look here on the right, you can see in Stanford's presentation, every school has a different presentation, but you can see this person's specialty is conservation biology. And ecology and evolution. You can see their specializations. So when we work with teens, and if they're interested in, conservation, then we would, look at Anthony Barnosky, for example. We would look at his lab. We look, we just sort of, just keep moving around. You want to just sort of keep moving and absorbing. And, one of the things I like to say, because this definitely happened to me in college, but this is a really important place here because yes, the dorms are important and the social life is important, but I mean, some of the things I really remember for college was falling in love with my teachers and feeling so inspired and having these heroes in my life, opening up my mind and challenging me. So this is a really cool, important spot here as well. Faculty. Now, we want to move beyond just the classroom experience. Where would a student be going with all of this knowledge? Where is a student looking to go, maybe more pre-professionally or at an advanced academic level? And our high school applicants will need to branch out, will need to expand out into this sort of level of academic engagement. So we encourage our students to check out the research. So you can just look at within the biology department. You can just look at the sites and the areas. Here you have research areas. So what was I going? Conservation. I sort of went with conservation. We'd probably, have the student click on this. Let's see what's going on here. Let's check that out. So that was the biology part in a bit of a blitz. And the point is to just keep clicking, exploring, stopping at things that catch interest, just keep moving and going. But we also said that the student is interested in business and entrepreneurship. Okay, well, guess what? There is no business major at Stanford. There's no business minor at Stanford. Many schools do not have a business major or minor for undergraduate students. So, okay, but the student really wants to go to Stanford for bio and thinks he can put something together for himself. So what would he do? Well, here's this handy dandy tab here, majors by interest. Oh, what's close to business? Management and entrepreneurship. All right. Okay, let me check that out, see what I can piece together. So even if a school doesn't have exactly what you're looking for, if you start to search by your interest, you can assemble programs and opportunities and carve a path. So this student clicked into management and entrepreneurship, and you can see there's an interdisciplinary array of opportunities and offerings here. And he's thinking, you know, econ as a minor, that will probably be my best bet given all the other things that I want to do. So he went in right here to the econ department, and that's what we have here. And we're back to the same thing. You can't see this here. We're in the minor. I'm not sure where this is right now, but he would click on the minor and check out right there. He would click on the minor and see what that was all about. And then he would do the same thing again, going through what does the minor look like? What do the classes look like? Who are the faculty? What kind of research is there? What's, you know, specifically maybe looking for, you know, what connections between economics and biotechnology. So really sort of custom tailoring a path given his interest at Stanford. It's almost like a scavenger hunt in some ways. I think we can talk about it. So here he is, overview, went to the minor, the course requirements, really piecing his life together. Another way to do this, so another way I was also thinking about explaining this to you, I don't know if there are any photographers in the audience. I have done photography in my past. And if you're photographing an event, a sports event or a wedding, a conference, what you do is you cover the event. You know, you take as many photos from as many different angles as possible, and then you edit it down later. So you just go around basically taking photos. You find all the important people, the important moments in the event, right? And you just, you overshoot basically. And so this is in essence what we're doing with our college research here. We're overshooting. We're looking at all the different angles we want to cover Stanford from as many different angles as possible. So here's another way, right? We went through explore majors by interest. We found management and entrepreneurship. We found the economics minor. We found sort of an academic home for the student. But if you then just type into the search bar entrepreneurship, a whole other, you know, sort of set of resources and opportunities show up, and then you get this search page. And what you would do is you would scroll down and look at different kinds of opportunities and then click on those. Of course, what you're doing hopefully is you're copying and pasting URLs into a document for yourself so that you can go back and refer to all of these wonderful resources that you found. At Blue Stars, we have activity sheets that we've created for our students so that they can just sort of dump the URLs and then start piecing it back together once they've done all of this panoramic window shopping. So we've done academics for the major, for the minor, for this combined hybrid profile. And for our students interested in competitive schools, we want to go beyond that classroom experience, looking into research. And we looked at research from within a department. And here's another way to do it. Okay. You can just click on research, that research tab right there. That will lead you to this screen right here. And then next, what you have here is that you can look at interdisciplinary, you can look at the labs and centers, and you can see what else they have going on. What students can also do is see what the policies are for the undergraduate research opportunities at each school. Every university will have statements about what their policies are and what their processes are. You will want to talk about the kind of research you plan to do as an undergraduate. It won't be enough for you to talk about the classes you want to take and the teachers you want to study with. Universities want to see how you're really starting to piece together an aspiration for yourself. Even if you change it, once you get to college, let's say this guy, he starts in bio, but he's become really excited about symbolic systems and has started to take the coursework for that and moved into that. You can do that once you are in college, right? This research is to help a student make the best case for him or herself where they are. Okay, so we've covered major, minor, we've covered faculty, we've covered research. What about extracurricular stuff? What about clubs? What about service? So here's another way of researching Stanford, sort of covering Stanford, seeing all the different ways in which it can open itself up to a student who's very interested in this school. So what you want to do is click on the Campus Life tab right there. That will take you to the Campus Life page. And that's where you can find out about athletics, clubs, groups, housing options, career services. You want to click on the Student Affairs link. That's probably the first place where you're just going to be able to find the good stuff. This student is interested in hip hop dancing. Would be very drawn to the arts. If you click on the arts, oops, sorry. Okay. So this is one place to look, clicking on the arts. If you click further down here, you'll also see just a tab for dance. So this could be a really nice targeted search. And then here you get the student groups devoted to dance right here. So this is one way of looking at it. If you go back here and you start clicking on the Student Affairs tab, here you're going to find a whole other array of centers. So first of all, you have community centers. You have different kinds of centers for integrative learning. And then if you click further, you're going to get more clubs. You're going to find more ways to get involved. 650 student organizations at Stanford, and here is where you can find the links to those. Lots of pre-professional organizations, right? So do you see this is like a scavenger hunt, a treasure trove? You're just sort of, you keep looking and finding new things. You're grabbing, maybe you're doing screenshots, you're grabbing URLs, and then you'll be able to piece what this 4 years might look like. There's one more place here. So we've been looking at these tabs here, but if you go up there, you know, don't leave a stone unturned. Keep looking. And if you click on that, you'll see the study abroad, career services, and then you'll come up with something called cardinal service. This again is something really special to Stanford, right? So this is another way where a student can find more service opportunities, cardinal commitment, and you can look for service opportunities according to your passion. Let's say you've done a lot of tutoring. For example, you can make your case. During the coronavirus pandemic, I was doing all sorts of online tutoring. I really found myself as a tutor. Oh, wow, Stanford has the East Palo Alto Stanford Academy. I'd love to get involved in that, right? Basically, once you're starting to make your case for a college, you're not just talking about how great you are, as I've already said today, you're making the case that you would also be great for that school. And this is one way to do it. So lots more service opportunities here. Okay. So basically, it was a real blitz, and this is being recorded so you can look at it again. But what I wanted to show you is the way in which we look at a university from a variety of angles, from things that are not immediately obvious to teens, so that you can understand that when you do this deeper dive, first of all, you can understand what you want more. You can talk about what you want more, and then you can make your case for the school better by showing that, you know, what the school offers is what you need, and what you offer is what the school would find very welcome as well. And how do you make that case? You make it in your essays. Among other things, you make it in your essays. So what we decided to do was just show you a few of the essays. So you know, I took you through a systematic way of looking at schools. And for teens, it might feel like a lot of work, although I do want to say that our teens really do enjoy it. They thank us for it once they get into it. And, you know, once you start doing one college, you can do this for other colleges too. It's pretty easy to figure out. It's just a matter of setting aside the time. It's really just that. It's scheduling it in. And I'm going to take an hour. I'm going to take a half hour to check out Columbia. I'm going to take a half hour to check out Oberlin. Let me see. And going through this process. So here's the Stanford, these short essay questions right here. There are other questions for Stanford. There are even shorter questions which are also important, but these are some of the main ones. We spend a lot of time on these. And I want to draw your attention to the second one. So virtually all of Stanford's undergraduates live on campus. Write a note to your future roommate that reveals something about you or that will help your roommate and us get to know you better. One of the functions of this essay we like to tell our students is to let the university know that you're a likable person, you know, so you're not going to want to write an essay say like, I'm great, I'm terrific, you know, you're going to love me, right? But it's also a place where you can show that you've done your research on Stanford and you know about it. So, you know, there are students who might mention certain places, you know, on the campus or, you know, certain research centers or a particular professor, you know, I hope I get to study with this professor. And that signals to Stanford that the student has really considered Stanford, has really taken the time to look at the school. The student isn't just trying to, you know, present from out of the student's perspective. So that's all of this research will come to bear in the essays. I want to show you two more what are called why essays, so you can see how this really would all aligns in the end. So this is a really great process for getting students to help determine their school list, to help them make the case for their school, and to really answer these questions in substantial ways. So here's Carnegie Mellon. And I believe the word count for these is like 250 words, 200 or 250 words. This is like a why question split into two sub-questions. So the first one is, most students choose their intended major or area of study based on a passion or inspiration that's developed over time. What passion or inspiration led you to choose this area of study? So remember, I don't know if you remember, when we went back to, you saw the list of majors and the different bio majors, and there was, you know, bioengineering and just biology and computational biology, right? So if you start working as a teen in 9th or 10th grade, trying to figure out, you know, what your passion is, you're going to really be able to answer this question well. If you've decided you like biology and you decided you love Stanford and you're going to put this all together in senior year, you're not going to be able to answer a question like this as well. Okay, so that's why doing the school research early can help you build your profile and then can really just flow into essays that are not hard to write. Second question is the other half of the why question. Many students pursue college for a specific degree, career opportunity, or personal goal. Whichever it may be, learning will be critical to achieve your ultimate goal. As you think ahead to the process of learning during your college years, how will you define a successful college experience? So if you talk about, I want to make a lot of friends, I want to have memories, I want to get all A's, I want to get an internship, thank you very much. I'm submitting my application now. CMU will not be interested in you. But if you have studied CMU, and you can also do, also virtual visits where you can look at the buildings, you can see on maps where particular buildings and facilities and things like that are. If you know about the particular rituals that are important on particular college campuses, then your essay will be much, much more successful. There's an old joke, an old Borscht Belt joke, if you know what the Borscht Belt is. Comedians up in upstate New York in the mid-20th century. Anyway, old Borscht Belt joke is, enough about me. What do you think of me? What do you think of me? Enough about me. What do you think of me? That's what colleges are like. They want to know that you've looked into them and that you appreciate what they have to offer, not just that you're presenting yourself to be picked by them. One more, University of Chicago. And this is the last slide, I believe, in this presentation. If you look down here, 2019-20 supplement, this is a required essay, and it has been required ever since I've been working with students for over a decade applying to college. How does the University of Chicago, as you know it, satisfy your desire for a particular kind of learning, community, and future? Please address with some specificity your own wishes and how they relate to U Chicago. So what I like to tell our students is that what you need to do is present a weave between what you have to offer, what you want to gain, and what University of Chicago has to offer, and what it can gain by having you as a student. So really think about that weave, think about a basket, think about a rug, right? And the way you can achieve that weave is by doing the research that I have just demoed for you today. So I hope you can see when we're looking at the essays how really everything comes down to that profile presentation. And it's not just about what you as a student have done, but it's also about how you have informed yourself about the place you would love to be at, you would love to be welcomed by. All right. Resources for you guys for this week. I've got those two online virtual college fairs right up on top. I've got 3 online resources for visiting colleges. College Raptor is a place where you can create a school list. It's a free resource as well. I have one of our blog posts on comparing art colleges because we haven't talked about that. It is a specialization of Blue Stars, and our former art mentor, Nicole, worked on this with me. And then I know that people were talking about motivating their team, so I included an article on that I hope you will find useful. I am ready for questions that you might have. Questions about different majors, questions about one of the things. I do want to thank Helen for helping me with these slides. One of the things that Helen is a specialist in is helping students work through the computer science major. So at many schools, you can study computer science either in engineering or in arts and sciences, and it depends on really what your angle and what your focus and what your career aspirations are. So if a student is interested in software development and business, that person might want to do arts and sciences and not engineering. But if that person is interested in software development and biotechnology, so that's a whole other exploratory project and when, it's a very precise sort of process that we need to go through with our students. That's another angle. Let's see. Okay, the question is, if the student is a rising junior, so that person could take the SAT or the ACT in the spring or the summer of 2021, should that person wait? Probably yes, because things will be more stable then. Will the SAT be as important then? I don't know. Things are shifting so much, but also that student will be finishing up junior year. Junior year will be important again. So it's a lot to pile on. I'm sorry, I can't give you a completely, because depending on how the fall semester has been going, that might be the one to do, because that student wants to be focusing on the end of junior year to be doing really well academically and APs as well. So that's where I'm thinking. If you're a rising junior now and you plan to take the SAT or ACT, you might want to shoot for like January, February. That's where I'm sitting in my spontaneous processing here. Major in a liberal arts college versus STEM. I'm not really sure if you're asking me a math major in a liberal arts college versus a STEM major in a liberal arts college, or what I can say to a math major in a liberal arts college is you can do very, very, very well. So first of all, a student would get, if you're talking about a small liberal arts college as opposed to the liberal arts college, as opposed to engineering in the largest school, I know iPad 36, if you can re-ask your question a little bit more specifically, I can get back to that. The CMU, can I explain further? The CMU, the Carnegie Mellon, second question, and what that school is looking for in the answer, how students should consider answering. Let me see if I can share my screen again and get that up. Many students pursue college for a specific degree, career opportunity, or personal goal, whichever it may be. Okay, so it can be any of those. Learning will be critical to achieve your ultimate goal. As you think ahead to the process of learning during your college years, how will you define a successful college experience? Okay. Well, first of all, this is going to depend on what your child is majoring in, what your child is interested in, okay? For example, and knowing about Carnegie Mellon. So Carnegie Mellon, for example, it's a very collaborative place. So if you look at the School of Computer Science, for example, the way the architecture is created, that there are a lot of places, a lot of areas for people to gather together, and then small conference rooms where people can then work privately. So there's a lot of open space. So Carnegie Mellon is a very entrepreneurial place, right? So, the ways in which you would answer that question would be to think about what are the things that Carnegie Mellon values about itself? What are the things that I, as a teen, value about Carnegie Mellon? What do I value about the educational experiences I've already had? And you can put that together. So maybe it's late night, maybe it's monthly 24-hour, hackathons, for CMU, plus, cooking contests and robotics competitions, right? So, it's sort of like a puzzle. So you could put, you know, if you really wanted to go about this very, very systematically, you could put a list of all the cool things about CMU, all the cool things you like about CMU, all the cool things you want to do in college, and then see what the best, you know, combination of elements are, and then see what you have room for. And then write a longer essay. We always encourage our students to write longer essays. It could be twice, could be 3 times if it's a small, if it's a short workout, could be 3 times. And then you start to pick out the best stuff and discard the stuff that's not as sticky, not as persuasive. So I hope that is helpful for a first stab as to how to deal with that, the Carnegie Mellon question. For a rising senior, how are schools taking the pass-fail grades for junior? Okay. I don't have an answer on EAED and pass-fail yet. There's no policy. There's been no policy statements yet. When they come out, rest assured, I'll be shooting them over to you. We're going to have to take just a holistic look at each student. Like, you know, we're working with some students who, again, have been planning since 9th grade, particular directions, and they have very strong profiles already. And then they're working with us on doing independent things that are connected to their profile already. And some of them might be okay for going EAED. Some of them were working on getting their grades up in their junior year, and then everything went pass-fail. And so I'm not yet sure what to do about EAED. It's April. So a lot, step by step. Let's just stay in conversation. Excellent question about AP scores. Okay, do colleges look at AP scores? Will they look at them this year differently from other years? They are saying no. Okay, they're saying that they are not. So that's all I can tell you. That's what I can tell you right now. Okay. All right, we went over today. We've got one new message. The other thing too is AP scores are self-reported, and AP scores really matter most when a student is already admitted, because it has to do with what college credit the college will accept, and then students can, you know, move to the next level, of course. So, but they have explicitly stated that they're not going to view this year's APs differently. Okay. Okay. Lot of information, a lot of new news. I hope this was very helpful to you. Next week, we will be doing college funding with Sally Wu. Week after that, we will be doing pandemic summer. Over the summer, I am thinking of doing a weekly series, each week devoted to a different essay prompt, starting with UC essays, and having the college counselors join me once my webinar skills get kicked up a notch. So let me know if you find that you would find that interesting. I'm excited for a new set of webinars as well. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you next week. Take care. Thank you so very much. Have a great week.